Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
It always is
It's
empty,
vacant.
isn't it? Never mind.
Never mind.
Yep, you too, Sharon.
Okay. It is 6:30, so we will reconvene our meeting, and we're going to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. So students, if you would like to start us, please stand. Thank you. Okay, we are going to begin with our presentation, special recognition, and focus on the students. So first up, we have Mr. Strong from Woodland Park.
Okay, I'm not sure who to face here, but I'll face everybody. So I want to thank you for having us tonight. This is always exciting. It's exciting to showcase our students a little bit and what we're doing at Woodland Park. For many years, I've tried to get our specials teachers to come and present. We have amazing specials teachers in our district, and every time I walk into a room, I see kids laughing and having a great time and engaged. And so tonight, you get to experience one of our specials classes. This is Mrs. Rugg. And these are our third and fourth grade students, or some of our third and fourth grade students from Woodland Park. And Mrs. Rugg and her students are going to walk you through some of the things, one of the many things they've been learning in class, which is dancing. So you'll get to watch them dance, and you might even get to participate towards the end. Mrs. Rugg.
Good evening. Thank you for inviting us for Focus on Students. We are third and fourth grade students from Woodland Park Elementary School. My name is Chloe, and I'm a fourth grader.
My name is Major, and I'm a fourth grader.
My name is Keely, and I'm a fourth grader. My name is Emily, and I'm a fourth grader.
My name is Emmett, I'm a third grader.
My name is Peyton, I'm a third grader.
My name is Jason, I'm a third grader.
My name is Brayton, and I'm a third grader. Fourth grader.
My name is Adston, and I'm a fourth grader.
My name is Tucker, and I'm a fourth grader.
My name is Rico, I'm a fourth grader.
My name is Hallie, I'm a third grader.
My name is Callie, and I'm a third grader.
My name is Anthony, and I'm a fourth grader.
My name is Kinnick, and I am a third grader.
My name is Malia, and I'm a third grader.
My name is Kaylee, and I'm a fourth grader.
My name is Audrey, and I'm a fourth grader.
Our presentation is about folk dance. A folk dance is a dance that is part of a tradition or custom from people of a certain region or country.
Folk dance is passed from one generation to another.
We can increase our listening skills and our coordination by participating in folk dance.
Folk dancing gives us an opportunity to increase our awareness and appreciation for other cultures.
When we folk dance, we build community through socialization and teamwork.
Folk dancing is good for your health, but most of all, folk dancing is fun.
We will be performing the folk dance Irish Stew. The music is a traditional Irish melody called the Rakes of Mallow.
Do you guys have any questions?
Did you choose that Irish song for St. Patrick's Day on Friday?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Do you guys want to join us?
Absolutely. Thank you. This is our favorite part of our school board meetings is when our students come. So thank you so much. That was so fun. Thank you, Mr. Strong. Okay. Yeah. And the other really fun thing is our award for excellence. Angie Bauman.
Thank you. Ironically, this evening, our recipient for the Award for Excellence is a Woodland Park staff member, so it's fantastic that all of our students and families are here to get to hear some great things about one of their very own. This month's recipient is Stephanie Anderson, if you would come on up. So Stephanie is the special education teacher out at Woodland Park. Students, you all know Mrs. Anderson? Yeah, fantastic. So there are a few things that I want to share with you that staff shared about Stephanie. But before I do that, some of you may not be aware of what the award is. So this award we recognize 5 times out of the school year for our staff members. They can be nominated by a parent, a peer, an administrator, but nominated by someone for going above and beyond and excelling at what they do. So Mrs. Anderson was this month's recipient, so she's going to get this fantastic plaque. some of the things that were said. First off, Mrs. Anderson was nominated by a parent, and that doesn't happen all the time. A lot of times we have teachers nominating each other, or paraprofessionals nominating teachers, or vice versa. So it was great to see a nomination come in from a parent that was so proud of the work that Mrs. Anderson does. The parent said, "She has always been there for my kids and all kids that come through her room. Even when my kid is on worse behavior, she does everything she can to help and stand up for him." Very nice. Some other staff contributed some positive comments also. Mrs. Anderson goes above and beyond to help with one student in my room. She is essential for making our school run smoothly. She is a valued team member who helps problem solve and offers many tools to help the student achieve their goals in and out of the classroom. She makes the best out of challenging situations and can always find a positive. Not only is Steph an amazing person, but she is an amazing teacher as well. The love she has for her students goes unmatched. How nice. Mr. Strong, would you like to say a few words before we try and hand her the mic and see if she wants to speak?
She's been preparing a long speech for you all. Okay, I had to write this down because that's just the way I am, so I don't stumble over my words, so I'm just going to read it. Before I came tonight, I did some checking, and I found out that Mrs. Anderson has 31 students currently on her caseload. 31. And I also typed into my personal calendar IEP MDT into my calendar, and I had 42 meetings that popped up on my calendar just so far this year. All those meetings are facilitated by Mrs. Anderson. That's 42 meetings that she meets for at least a half hour with families. Oftentimes it's an hour or more, and then after that meeting, she has to, finalize your paperwork, which is probably another 45 minutes of typing stuff into the documents and finalizing it, and then she can begin her lesson plans for the next day. It's pretty incredible. Just about any time of the day that you walk into Mrs. Anderson's room, you'd see 2 to 3 different grade levels of students in her room. They're not all scheduled to be there, but sometimes there's different kids in there. Oftentimes, these students are experiencing a wide range of emotional challenges and needs, and her job is to meet the needs of each of those students. These things are pretty typical for any resource teacher in our district. Being a resource teacher is a high-stress and high-reward job. As you know, all teachers in our district have high-stress jobs, and all of them work hard and are deserving of an award. But why Mrs. Anderson at this time? And it's pretty neat that all of you are here from Woodland Park to see this. Great timing. Okay. Stephanie's original nomination was sent in by a parent of one of her students. This parent would openly admit that her child has had some fairly significant challenges. But with Stephanie's help, he has made incredible progress, and he has far exceeded expectations and even tested out of special education in one academic area. Incredible work from Mrs. Anderson. Day in and day out, Mrs. Anderson provides a safe, caring, and supportive learning environment for all 31 of her students. All of those 31 students have multiple goals with varying needs, and she works hard to meet them all. She has the patience of a saint and is always happy, supportive, and willing to go above and beyond to help her kids. I have watched her embrace social storytelling and academic interventions in recent years. She's always done those, but she has openly embraced them in recent years, and her students have benefited significantly from them and have been impacted by them. As the principal of the school, I'm supposed to be the expert on helping kids in crisis, but truth be told, I don't hold a candle to Stephanie. I regularly defer to her for support and help. Stephanie is constantly being pulled in all directions, which would be incredibly exhausting, but one thing you can always count on, she will always have her students' best interest in mind. She always has a smile on her face. She always works hard. She always has a positive attitude. Incredible staff member. So Stephanie, couldn't think of, we have lots of amazing staff at Woodland Park, but certainly well deserving of the award. I'm so proud a parent nominated you, and congratulations.
Stephanie, would you like to say anything?
I'm just going to say thank you so much. I'm very honored, so thank you.
Hold on. The honor is usually the most important part, but there are a few other important pieces. Stephanie does get a $50 gift card that Hy-Vee donates for her to use for, according to her class when we were talking, I said, well, she could buy supper for her family, and they said, or candy. So, what's that? Snacks for the party, right. So that's an option too. Here's a copy of the kind words from your peers. And in addition, Stephanie gets to work with Mr. Strong in the building to spend $500 on something that will benefit the students out at Woodland Park. So I know that the students that were in her room the day I came out and announced the award were already coming up with some fantastic ideas. I'm not sure if any of those will make it to the final, but we'll see what they come up with. So have fun with that, and congratulations.
Congratulations, Stephanie. In our board retreat, we learned more about what you do, so it was really cool that this all went together tonight. We are moving on, but this is the time where if you prefer to sneak out, you sneak quickly now, but you're very welcome to stay. Okay, thank you. This is the time during the meeting when the public may request to address the board. According to state law, if you wish to comment, you must identify yourself, including your address, the name of the organization you represent, and the topic that you wish to address. Public comment cards are located at the media table in the back of the room. Please pick up a card and provide the required information if you plan to speak. Each individual's comments will be limited to 5 minutes. Please note that the board cannot discuss or act upon matters that are not listed on the agenda. Therefore, board members will not respond to your comments or questions. If you wish to request an item be placed on a future board agenda, you may contact the superintendent or her assistant during normal business hours. Also note that concerns related to school personnel need to be addressed to the superintendent using the approved district protocol. Would anybody like to speak?
Beth Pleshak, 84816 559th Avenue, Hoskins, Nebraska, and I'm in Norfolk Public Schools School District. I want to talk briefly about some of the SPED programs that Norfolk Public Schools offers as extracurricular activities. Inclusion matters, and the people that make that happen have a very special place in parents' hearts. Our special educators work above and beyond to make that happen. And Norfolk has some very special programs, and those teachers work very hard to make that happen. Some of those programs are Aftershock, Unified Sports, and Circle of Friends. that are very inclusive, not only for the students and beneficial for the students that experience a disability, but also the students that don't experience a disability, because those are those future employers of those students that experience a disability. At the junior high level, Circle of Friends starts where able-bodied students and students that experience a disability are able to go do various activities and attend programs all the way up through high school in this program. This program was not started by a teacher, but a student that went to Norfolk Public Schools who had a heart beyond anyone else. And people like that need to be recognized, and people like that need to be honored. Unfortunately, we've lost Tatum recently, and I feel that instead of calling it Circle of Friends, we should call it Tatum's Circle of Friends in her honor.
Thank you, Beth.
My name is Kay Francavilla. A little too loud. I am going to be discussing, I don't have any, oh, I'm sorry, my address is 1006 Burgess Ave. I don't have any written comments, and this is just myself speaking as a taxpayer. It's going to be regarding the purchase of a bus, which I saw was on your agenda, and so I did some research. And I concluded, I'm going to tell you this, because of the fact that my background, in addition to being an attorney, for the last 14 years of my career, I was a financial advisor, meaning I held all the security licenses that are required. I had the fun of going through the 2008 financial crash, and caused a lot of health problems for me, so I retired, and I've never regretted it. The reason I'm bringing that up is because I still follow the financial markets, I still follow what's going on, and quite frankly, I am very concerned about what is happening right now. I think that we may be going into a recession. Personally, I think we are in a recession, for what it's worth, but certainly you know, if you haven't lived under a rock, that banks are starting to fail. And I'm not saying this to scare anybody, but I think we are in uncertain times right now. I just am so glad that I'm no longer a financial advisor, because it would be tough to tell someone what to do. But I do know that so far as myself, being a taxpayer, and my friends and the people that I talk to, we are all feeling the financial pinch right now. Many of my friends, being elderly, they're on fixed incomes, and as the cost of things go up, food and gas and everything else, taxes certainly, they're tightening their belts by necessity. We as taxpayers have to tighten our belts. Well, when I saw that you were looking at purchasing a bus, I'm thinking to myself, okay, we're in uncertain times. Why would a school district feel the need right now to buy a bus? We're almost at the end of the school year. I even went on the internet and did quite a bit of looking for used buses, and it was kind of interesting. There's quite a bit of used buses out there that looked like they were pretty good deals. But either way, I saw one of your options that you were looking at was to just not purchase a bus right now and maybe just use Navigate or whatever, charter the buses, whatever. And personally, I just think as a financial person, that makes more sense at the present time to take a look and see attitude as to what is going to be happening in the next few months before you make a purchase of this amount. That said, if you really feel, and this is your decision as board members, if you feel that you need to purchase a bus, because I don't know all the background, I don't know everything I need to know regarding that. I know that you have budgeted $345,000 for the purchase of that bus. I would like to see you try to stay within that amount as close as possible, which means of the options that I saw you listed on the agenda, the first one I would pick would be to charter. The second one would be to purchase a bus that, well, I would love to say the one where it's $344,000, but I've been schooled by a lot of people that they need bathrooms. So perhaps the $366,000 bus, whatever. So I just wanted to give my input that I would really like to see the school board do the belt tightening that the taxpayers are doing. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Kay. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Okay, we will close the public comments and communication. Thank you. We are into information and discussion item. 7.1 is Finance and Facilities Report. Dr. Robinson.
Thank you. The total amount of claims to be approved in the consent agenda for March are listed below. The total amount of claims for the month of February in the Activities Fund is also listed. These claims were reviewed earlier today in our Finance and Facility Committee. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Dr. Robinson. 7.2 is Teaching and Learning Report. Mrs. Nelson.
Thank you, Madam President. It's ramping up to the busy portion of the year. We are diligently preparing for the required statewide assessment window. There are a lot of moving parts in the background that have to be done and tediously accurate to ensure that the requirements are met. Security of testing, training of proctors, scheduling, and electronic rostering, just to name a few. Curriculum teams continue to meet, which is, of course, an ever-evolving process, and it should be. Districts must continue to grow and update their pedagogy and practice to match the demands of student learning. I'm pleased with the progress we've been able to make this year. We are seeing the benefits of continuous and steady curriculum work. A highly reliable school includes consistency in processes, dedication to excellence, and perseverance to strive for the best for our students. Our commitment to the focus of targeted instruction with the supplement of proficiency scales for grading has created a system where teachers are able to move together with a shared focus and meaningful data to monitor student progress and make adjustments as needed to meet the needs of all students. While it is still in progress, there are no district or process is perfect. We are on the right track. Our newly adopted strategic goal for systems of support would be less attainable if we did not already have a guaranteed and viable curriculum process in place. These last 8 years have been steady and slow, yet meaningful and impactful. Since we have some classroom materials on the agenda for approval to purchase, I want to remind everyone of the textbook and classroom materials selection process. At Norfolk Public Schools, we follow a predictable pattern for updating materials. It is actually a 5 to 8 year process that includes multiple factors. As shown on the NPS curriculum framework that's found on the website, we refer to the state and/or national standards, whichever is applicable or appropriate, to update curriculum. Updates can range anywhere from 5 to 8 years depending upon the subject matter. We are continually monitoring our internal and external data to analyze instruction and program needs. We are also in a continual process of reviewing updated research regarding student learning, brain development, and teaching practices. In addition, before we begin a discussion about new textbooks program adoptions, a source called EdReports is also referenced for material quality. EdReports serves as an unbiased review for educational program quality. All these steps occur before we even begin discussing the change of classroom resources. The entire textbook selection process is completed by our teachers under the organization of the Teaching and Learning Department. Teachers contribute to the process by reviewing the materials and using a matrix to help rank and sort out the compatibility of the books. After a qualitative tabulation of the materials is collected from the matrices, a quantitative discussion determines which programs are worthy of piloting process. The piloting process is important as we've found that as teachers use the product, they learn even more about its effectiveness. By the time we present the recommendation for the purchase from teachers, we feel we are confident in that decision. Are there any questions?
long report, Beth.
That was this month.
Yes. No questions? Thank you, Beth. 7.3 is Student Programs Report. Mrs. Lure.
Thank you, Madam President. This month, we will conclude our state-required special education parent survey. We have shared the link to the survey with our parents through email at parent-teacher conferences and IEP meetings. We will receive the results of this survey in September of 23. Nebraska Department of Education has required all schools to participate in a pilot by completing a file review of randomly selected files targeting post-high school transition plans from the 21-22 school year. Norfolk Public had 9 files to review. The pilot collection closes on April 15th. Norfolk Public submitted on February 27th. NDE will review the self-assessments from April 15th to July 1st and share feedback with districts around August 1st. Our English language proficiency assessment summative window will conclude this month, and we will receive the results in the first weeks of May. Are there any questions?
What is a file review? You're required to participate in a file review. Files.
The IEP files. So they randomly selected 9 of my students, and then we had to review to make sure that we were hitting the targets of transition from high school to post-school, high school. And we have certain goals that we have to have in place and things that we have to do. So we reviewed those 9 to make sure that we had those things in place. And we did overall well with our 9.
So you follow them after post-high school?
Mm-hmm. They do a post-high school survey on our students, the ones that participate.
Thanks, Mary. Thanks, too, for that great study session on special ed. That was very informative.
Thank you, Madam President.
7.4 is Student Services Report, and we have got Bill Robinson going to do that? No. Sorry. Yes? Dr. Robinson. No Eric. So I'm looking around going, okay.
I was thinking. This is a reminder that kindergarten enrollment for 22-23 school year is in full swing. Registration is being held at, what's that? 4, written as 22-23. We will make that change. Yeah. Registration is being held in neighborhood schools. Parents must have birth certificate and copy of immunization to begin the enrollment process. Kindergarten Roundup will be held on Wednesday, April 19th at your neighborhood elementary. We are encouraging families to start the registration process early to avoid complications. And I will stress that that is just better for everybody if you can let us know what your intent is so we can plan for staffing, supplies, equipment, especially those first years, and, paras, all those kinds of things. Parent-teacher conferences were held last month, and I attended my last one. Yeah, so not good or bad, but over the years, I've a lot of good parent-teacher conferences. But our attendance with the elementary and middle school is historically very high because those are scheduled meetings, and then the information about those conferences is posted below. So are there any questions that I will do my best at answering? Otherwise, we'll move on to the next item.
Thank you, Dr. Robinson, via Eric Wilson, who was actually testifying for us down at the legislature today. 7.5 is Human Resources and Accreditation. Mrs. Baumann.
Thank you, Madam President. Letters of intents were sent out to all MPS certified staff on March 1st and are due back on March 15th. At that time, we should know all positions that need to be filled. Quite a few teachers have been hired for the 2023-2024 school year, and we will continue to advertise and search for the best teachers for Norfolk Public Schools. In addition, I have started receiving student teacher placement requests for the 23-24 school year, and I'm starting to begin with placements at the appropriate grade levels. Are there any questions?
Angie, what's the last date they can sign their contract?
So letter of intents have to be signed by Wednesday, March 15th.
Okay, I didn't know if that was the final day or yes.
It is, yes.
Questions? Thank you, Angie. Superintendent's report, Dr. Thompson.
Thank you, Madam President. I have a few items for you this evening.
am happy to report that the orientation process for new board members is nearly complete. We need to schedule one additional meeting with an individual board member to discuss curriculum, instruction, and assessment. I would also recommend that we consider scheduling a longer board retreat this summer for all board members to include a more comprehensive study of student achievement, systems of support, and assessment and grading practices. We are in the process of advertising and accepting applications for our 2023-2024 high school principal position. I am planning to include 3 groups in the interview process: senior high staff, senior high students and parents, and senior high and central office administrators. I will not be able to create those teams until I have a date set for the interviews, but I will let senior high staff know who will be representing them. That will allow staff to reach out to those team members to provide their input and ideas prior to the interviews. I am also providing a survey for students, staff, and parents to share their thoughts and ideas directly with me. We are having some difficulties with our website today, but we're hoping we can get that survey out on the website in the next couple of days. Due to space constraints at the high school, the interviews will need to take place at central office. However, each candidate will be given a tour of the high school as part of the interview process. Once I have reviewed all the feedback from the interview teams and the constituent survey, and I have completed thorough reference checks, then I will offer the position to the best candidate. That candidate will be presented to the board for approval at our April 17th board meeting. And finally, Dr. Robinson alluded to this in his report from Eric Wilson, but we continually monitor our class sizes throughout the year in order to ensure acceptable student to staff ratios. This is particularly important this time of year and into spring and summer as we plan the number of sections that we will have in kindergarten. Board Policy 6113 indicates the superintendent shall implement methods as outlined in administrative rule when necessary to maintain appropriate class sizes. This may include the reassignment of staff to maximize efficiency and/or effectiveness. The administrative rule sets our kindergarten classroom capacities at 25 and grades 1 through 4 capacities at 30 students. And it outlines the process to be used if those capacities are exceeded. Those processes are, in order of priority or preference, number 1, we ask for voluntary student transfers to another building with classroom space. Number 2, we consider combining classrooms to meet enrollment requirements. Number 3, we take involuntary student transfers to another building with classroom space. So we assign students to another building, and if those things are not successful, then we hire additional staff. The Director of Student Services, building principals, and I implement these procedures annually as necessary. If it is determined that additional staffing is necessary in order to meet these class size requirements, then I will bring a formal request to the Board of Education for that additional staff. It is much too soon for us to know if that will be necessary for the 23-24 school year, but I wanted you to be aware of the procedures that we will use in order to make that determination. Do you have any questions?
I have a question about the principal interviewing process. How are the parents and students chosen who get to take part in that?
As far as, well, for both, I will ask principals from the senior high for some recommendations of students that are kind of represent different populations within the school that might be willing and able to do that. They have to be able to miss a day of school as well. And parents, the same thing, just ask for names of parents that are active and that might want to be a part of that.
Dr. Thompson, how many families or students will be included in that panel?
I usually try to keep teams between 8 and 12. If you get many more than that, then it's really pretty unmanageable.
My question is, do we have to have a cap off of April 17th? I mean, why so short for a principal, if 3 weeks on that?
Oh, that is more time than normal. April 17th, if we go past that, it will be very hard to find someone because schools will not let people out of their contract. So if I don't have someone by April 17th, I'll probably be looking at reassigning an interim.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Thompson. Committee reports. 8.1 is Facilities and Finance. Brenda Carhart.
At noon today, the claims for the month of March and activity claims for February were reviewed. The other items reviewed and discussed, JEO provided an overview of the junior high track replacement, presentation on junior high auditorium potential project, softball update, updates on current district projects, and review of the action items tonight for the junior high track, the vehicles and activity bus, and the middle school project. The next meeting will be Monday, April 17th at noon. Is there any questions?
Thank you, Brenda. 8.2, Government Relations. Cindy Booth.
Due to time constraints surrounding hearings and floor debate, it has not been possible for the Government Relations Committee to recommend official board action on any legislation. However, individual members have contacted senators and submitted testimony regarding bills that would have a strong impact on Norfolk Public Schools. This testimony has not been issued on behalf of the Norfolk Public Schools Board of Education, but rather on behalf of those individuals. The Government Relations Committee met several times within the last month. On February 27th, 2023, we discussed the Governor's School Finance and Property Tax Relief Package, which includes LB 583, introduced by Sanders, LB 589, introduced by Breesy, and LB 681, introduced by Clements. The School Finance and Property Tax Relief Package would be financially advantageous for both Norfolk property owners and schools, as they are currently written with Amendment 212 and Amendment 193. Dr. Thompson wrote a letter to Senator Dover indicating support for LB 583 as long as the 30% increase in special education reimbursement stays outside of the TIOSA formula as introduced by the Governor and Senator Sanders. Support for LB 589 as written with Amendment 212, which provides some exceptions to the revenue cap, and support for LB 681 as written with Amendment 193, which includes TIOSA as a funding priority. The committee also discussed several bills that were scheduled for hearings. Beth Shashikant and Dr. Thompson wrote letters to the Education Committee and Senator Dover regarding concerns with LB 550, LB 528, and LB 811. LB 550 would provide students unlimited option enrollments as opposed to the current limit of 1. It would also eliminate to reject an option enrollment due to capacity limitations. This would be very problematic for Norfolk Public Schools because we have several grade levels that are at capacity and cannot accommodate option enrollment students. LB 528 would provide funding for a student to attend a private school if their option enrollment request to a public school was not approved. This could be very easily manipulated by parents seeking free tuition to private schools. LB 811 would amend the Student Discipline Act to provide for the use of physical contact and restraint, as well as the removal of students from classes. Norfolk Public Schools already has strong policies covering these topics, which are much better addressed via local school boards who understand their schools, students, staff, and communities. On March 5th, we discussed LB 690, LR 24CA, LR 28CA, LR 29CA, and LB 429. You can see Beth Sashikant, Cindy Booth, and Sandy Wolf, and Dr. Thompson all submitted comments opposing LB 690, LR 24CA, and LR 28CA. These bills each attempt to limit or eliminate the powers of the State Board of Education and the Commissioner of Education. LR 24CA is a constitutional amendment that would completely eliminate the State Board of Education and the Commissioner of Education. Instead, the governor would appoint a chief education official that would work under his direction. We would no longer have an elected state school board representing Nebraska constituents. LR 28CA is a constitutional amendment that would eliminate the existing 8-member State Board of Education that is elected by voters and replace it with a 7-member board that would be appointed by the governor with advice and consent of the legislature. LB 690 limits the power of the State Board of Education and Commissioner by placing them under the direction of the legislature. Beth Shashikant sent comments opposing LR 29CA, which would place term limits on the member of the State Board of Education. This bill would only allow state board members 2 4-year terms when our state senators are trying to increase their own term limits to 3 4-year terms. Dr. Thompson and Beth Shashikant sent comments supporting LB 429, which would return unclaimed property tax credits back to TIOSA. On March 10th, we discussed bills that will have hearings this week. Bill Robinson submitted comments opposing LB 475, which would increase funding for public education, but place unrealistic class size requirements on them. Eric Wilson testified in person today supporting LB 516. It would provide funding for public schools for security-related infrastructure projects and mental health practitioners. It would create regional school security directors to help schools address safety and security concerns. Beth Shashikant is also planning to contact senators regarding LB 673, which would provide income tax credits for private school donations. This diverts public dollars to private schools, which are not held to the same accountability standards, rules, or expectations as public schools. They are not even required to accept students who qualify for special education services, ELL services, or who have behavior issues. Members of this committee also attended the Chamber's Government Affairs meetings and the Greater Nebraska Association of Schools meeting. Any questions or comments?
Sounds like you've been busy.
Good job, Cindy. That was a lot to report. 8.3, Activities Committee Report. Brenda Carhart.
Activities Committee met at noon, February 21st. Mr. Irwin and Mrs. Lenton provided an update on winter activities and uniform purchases. The committee discussed our need for improvements at the softball facilities at Tawazuka Park in order to provide comparable experiences for our girls and boys. We also discussed the need for a new activity bus and developed a survey to determine which features are most important to coaches. The committee discussed the possible addition of 2 pilot programs, Mental Health Club and Poetry Club. The committee is recommending the addition of Poetry Club as a school-sponsored activity, but not the Mental Health Club. The committee discussed the addition of several coaching positions and is recommending add the following: senior high girls wrestling, assistant boys soccer, assistant girls soccer, head junior high girls wrestling, and 2 assistant junior high girls wrestling. These are all because our numbers have increased and we need more coaches. The committee also discussed flipping junior high boys and girls basketball schedules in order to allow boys and girls to participate in both basketball and wrestling at the junior high level and to facilitate the addition of more competitions. The committee discussed Norfolk Catholic's request to terminate their co-op for boys tennis. Norfolk Catholic has not had any participant in approximately 10 years and does not wish to continue paying this fee to NSAA. The committee is recommending this termination. Our next meeting is scheduled for April 12th, 2023. Any questions?
With the possible club additions, are those brought to, I'm guessing, the administrator or the principal by students or by teachers or both? Poetry Club and...
In this case, we have had those clubs at the senior high with volunteer coaches or sponsors, and they are now asking for them to become official clubs so that they can be paid for that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brenda. 8.4, Curriculum Committee Report. Beth Shashikant.
Thank you. The Curriculum Committee met on the 9th of March at 1:30. Members present were myself, Terry Bauer, Cindy Booth, Dr. Thompson, Beth Nelson, Jared Oswald, Nancy Probasco, Sherry Thielen, and Mickey Mueller. The curriculum portion of the meeting was opened by Beth Nelson with a report about the in-depth process that is used when selecting classroom materials, resources, and textbooks. She also mentioned that it is important to recognize that teachers teach the class curriculum. Curriculum materials, resources, and textbooks are used as a tool for teachers to meet that curriculum. The textbook in and of itself does not make up the class. Mickey Mueller reported to the group about career academies and the programs of study that exist within academies. She stated that career and technical education standards are updated every 5 years because the industry, particularly business, changes so quickly. In response to the updated Nebraska CTE standards, NPS will offer a web design course as a capstone to the digital design program of study, and Culinary Arts 2 is also being added at the senior high as a capstone to the Culinary Arts program of study. Textbooks in both areas have been vetted using the textbook matrix and chosen by the business and family consumer science teachers. A motion for these textbooks is found later in the agenda. A large portion of the meeting consisted of the teaching and learning team giving an explanation of the steps completed to select math textbooks. This has been an ongoing process for almost 2 years. It began with the exploration of the K-6 Zern math program in June 2021. While many teachers that tried that program liked it, it wasn't a great fit for all teachers in all classrooms due to its lack of supportive resources and alignment to Nebraska standards. What the teachers liked the most about it was the problem-solving methods and online practice component that complemented the lessons. In May of 2022, teachers K through 12 came in to research and review programs. The goal was to find a program that contained resources for teachers to teach in a problem-solving way while also having complementary online component. After completing compatibility matrices and hearing from company presentations, the K-6 teachers decided to pilot the iReady math curriculum, and the 7th through 12th grade teachers decided to pilot illustrative math and amplify math. During 2022-23, piloting began. After several months of usage, training, reviewing, observing, and gaining feedback from teachers, it has been recommended by teachers and the Teaching and Learning Department to purchase Amplify Math in 7th grade, 8th grade, Algebra 1, and Algebra 2 this year, and Amplify Geometry next year. A motion will appear later in the agenda. After reviewing the iReady Math for K-6, it is the recommendation that we continue the pilot of the program in 2023-24. Pilot teachers will help design the onboarding process for all teachers in the upcoming school year. Lastly, the teachers of environmental science have been reviewing textbooks using the textbook matrix. This will be discussed more in-depthly in the future. The curriculum committee portion of the meeting concluded at 3:10 p.m. Are there any questions?
Thanks, Beth. Do you want to keep rolling on American Civics Committee?
Okay, the American Civics Committee met also on the 9th of March at 1:30. Members present were the same as in the curriculum portion. The Board of Education Civics Committee met at 1:30 on March 9th at the NPS Central Office Administrative Building. Discussion began with a brief overview of the purpose of the committee and most recent activities regarding social studies curriculum work. Committee members were reminded that the updated Nebraska state standards in social studies created a change in the senior high course offerings, which affected junior high courses. That work is complete and in action. Kindergarten through 3rd grade work will begin next fall. Textbook and classroom resources will be examined at that time. End of the year American Civics reports will be submitted to the Director of Teaching and Learning and reported to the Board of Education during the June or July board meeting. The next American Civics Committee meeting will be held next fall. A public notice will be posted of this meeting in the Norfolk Daily News. It was 1:50 at the conclusion of the civics portion of the meeting. Any questions?
What is the updated Nebraska state standards in social studies?
I will refer you to Beth Nelson.
So I'll especially the 4 core content areas of English language arts, math, science, and social studies. They update the state standards. Those are the academic standards that they have written for schools to follow as a guideline to include in their course in their courses. Does that make sense? So we talk about our math standards, we talk about our English language arts standards, and social studies as well.
It's a state school board that sets these standards.
The Department of Education creates them, the state school board approves them.
Back to my question then, what's the updated? Just anything new or? will we
Right,
teach it
they might,
differently?
yes. And so, for example, like mentioned in the report, traditionally we had taught world history at the junior high, and I believe we have to offer that at a senior high. Just a movement of where it's offered and when it's offered, and then between, like, say, 7th grade and 8th grade, they have a decision they make of how far they get into history, you know, and social studies becomes problematic because you keep adding history. So you have to make decisions about what's appropriate to keep as a priority.
They've added some new history and we dropped off some other history?
Well, we didn't really drop anything off. It's always it seems like it's always about adding.
So is this like where it shows in order to graduate then, this is preparing for that, because what is it, in 25, 26, our credits change? Is that in 25, 26, our credits change, the classes from world history, American history, and it's all changing?
Mhm. Yes. There's a cohort of students. We had to make a decision, okay, where do we start and stop that? And the implementation of the standards needs to be within a calendar year. So when the state school board adopts it in typically the fall, we naturally follow that and do the work to attempt to have it in place the following fall. Sometimes you're also given 2 years, depending upon what the subject matter is and how it affects your school.
So that's why the credits changed for each class
That's
or whatever?
right.
Okay.
That's right.
Perfect. Thank you.
The number of credits didn't change, just what they take. Yes.
Thank you, Beth. 8.6, Norfolk Public Schools Foundation Report. Brenda Carhart.
The Norfolk Public Schools Foundation Board of Directors met on February 20th at 4:30 at the Administration Building. 12 members and 2 guests were present. Board Vice President Jason Bush called the meeting to order. During the Executive Director's Report, Kellen Collins shared with the board members that the traditional scholarship application for the senior class of 2023 is now open and students are currently applying. Except she says most of them wait until the night before the scholarships are due, and then she gets a bunch, but yes, they are currently applying. There are 66 scholarships available total for a total of $78,000 in scholarships that we'd like to give away. She has been actively promoting the scholarships through the social media, the school website, in signage at Norfolk High School, and via the Norfolk High School Counseling Office. Collins also shared that she has given a presentation at College Club, a specifically designed time for high school seniors to come learn more about all the things college-related and ask their questions. She reminded the board that the deadline for scholarship application submission is March 23rd, 2023. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Brenda. We are to the consent agenda items. So 9.1 is the minutes of the previous meetings, and the February 13th meeting is attached. 9.2 is personnel, and very exciting. I'm sure Angie will tell us about all the contracts we have to approve, but it's actually Dr. Thompson.
It is my pleasure to share this information. We're going to start with one that's a little bit different than normal. We have Emma Coldson, who will be a teacher, a special education teacher within our district next year, the building to be determined. We have multiple special education positions open right now and are moving people around to fill those, and she has accepted whichever position we give her. So we are very thankful for that. Allison Flynn, school psychologist. Again, location is to be determined, but that's fairly typical. They move every year based on caseloads. Trayston Holly, physical education teacher at the junior high. Sarah Hake, okay, speech language pathologist. Shane Hoadley, 7th, 8th grade science teacher, junior high. Tyrone Hubbard, special education, emotionally disturbed high needs teacher at the middle school. Alexa Moreno, ELL teacher at the junior high. Alexis Phillips, family and consumer sciences teacher at the senior high. Julie Schleckenberg, K4 teacher, Lincoln, Washington, Westside Elementary Schools in art. Shannon Shuck, special education teacher at the middle school. Ryan Serber, art teacher at the senior high. And Reba Wakasawa, I don't know. Westkowiak, 6th grade teacher at the middle school. I apologize for murdering your name, if you're listening.
Wow, we got some really hard positions filled.
Yeah,
that is amazing. And I love it. Reba, she's one of our student teachers, so is she one of them that we were able to give a stipend to? Yes. Awesome. That is really good.
Alexa Moreno is also one.
And Alexa also.
And Shane Holdley.
Oh, wow, 3. That is,
Trayston is the PE teacher that he student taught for us in the fall, so he did also receive the stipend, and then we hired him on a 1-semester contract for the spring. Reopened that up since we didn't have time to fully interview have a long time in there for applications, and even after that process, he was then selected for the position, so that was good to see.
Good to see you guys, school psychologist. Yeah.
that's all the really good news. Now we've got 9.2, which is the resignations, Dr. Thompson.
I am equally not excited to share this list, but we do have several resignations and/or retirements. Tara Padilla, junior high English language arts teacher. Mike Sunderman, senior high business teacher. Diana Keeler, junior high special education life teacher. Whitney Porn, junior high 8th grade science teacher. Julie Morgan, Grant Elementary 1st grade teacher. Carissa Mose, Bel Air Elementary kindergarten teacher. Diamond Moraga, Little Panthers preschool sped teacher. Melissa Dinkle, middle school 6th grade teacher. Amy Berner, Woodland Park 1st grade teacher. Dr. Derek Ippenson, senior high principal. Ashley Wodazeski, I don't know, middle school special ed teacher. Monica Pickenpaw, Little Panthers preschool sped teacher. Alexis Gothier, Little Panthers preschool special ed teacher. Carrie Severson, middle school 6th grade teacher. And Carolee Gleason, Grant Elementary 3rd grade teacher. If there is some good news, it is that letters of intent are due on Wednesday, so our number of resignations should drop off significantly for the next month. This is our big month every year.
We have some awesome teachers that are leaving us, some fantastic retiring teachers. It's hard to see them go. They've done a great job, so thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
A couple of these were just one-year teachers, I think. I remember meeting them at, did you have any reasons or anything in this?
You know, reasons vary, and we will be doing an exit survey at the end of the season. We have had several that are taking positions in nearby schools because they get full family insurance. We have others who have chosen not to stay in the profession. We have retirements. There's just a wide variety.
But thank you to all of them for being a part of Norfolk Public Schools. 9.3 is claims. Dr. Robinson.
Thank you. Attached are the claims for the month of March. Like stated earlier, we did review these at Finance and Facility earlier today. There are a few conflict statements that will need to be read before voting.
Okay, do we have a motion for the consent agenda items?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda items.
I'll second it.
Who did it? She can have it, okay. We have a motion by Brenda and a second by Beth. Terry. Or sorry. Terry. Oh, Terry, sorry. Is there conflict statements to be read?
Out of an abundance of caution, I hereby declare a potential conflict of interest, and I am abstaining from voting on claim number 475 for the month of March in the consent agenda for this meeting. I have signed and filed this written disclosure with the Secretary of the Board. It is my intent to vote on all other remaining items listed on the consent agenda. My vote on the remainder of the consent items should not be taken as a vote one way or the other on the item or items which I have identified or any of the matters set forth therein or related thereto.
Out of an abundance of caution, I hereby declare a potential conflict of interest, and I am abstaining from voting on claim number 468 for the month of March in the consent agenda for this meeting. I have signed and filed this written disclosure with the Secretary of the Board. It is my intent to vote on all other remaining items listed on the consent agenda. My vote on the remainder of the consent items should not be taken as a vote one way or the other on the item which I have identified or any of the matters set forth therein or related thereto.
Out of an abundance of caution, I hereby declare a potential conflict of interest, and I'm abstaining from voting on claim 480 and 962 for the month of March in the consent agenda for this meeting. I've signed and filed this written disclosure with the Secretary of the Board. It is my intent to vote on all other remaining items listed on the consent agenda. My vote on the remainder of the consent items should not be taken as a vote one way or the other on the items which I've identified or any of the matters set forth therein or related thereto. We all went to the Government Relations Conference in Lincoln. Please vote.
Motion carried, 6-0.
Thank you, Mary. We are to the action items. 10.1 is discuss, consider, and take action to approve the purchase of 350 Chromebooks. Dr. Robinson.
Thank you. This is a motion to approve 350 Chromebooks from Archangel for $76,930. The rationale is attached. Basically, that was the pricing that came in after the public bid. Mr. Wilson and the tech department made sure that Archangel could satisfy this purchase, checked on, because we have not done business with them before, and they feel pretty good that this is not a scam or anything. This is a legit price, and they had references to back this up. So that was the low bid.
Where are they from? Where's Archangel out of?
I want to say it's the West Coast, but I don't know that for sure.
Interesting name choice. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of 350 Chromebooks from Archangel for $76,930.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion by Beth and a second by Cindy. Is there any discussion? Please vote.
Motion carried, 6-0.
Thank you, Mary. 10.2, discuss, consider, and take action to approve the 23-24 option enrollment resolution. Dr. Thompson.
Thank you. According to state statute, public schools must adopt an option enrollment resolution annually, setting grade and program capacities and indicating which grade levels and programs are open for option enrollment students based upon those capacities and projected enrollments. For the 2023-2024 school year, we are at capacity in the following grades and programs: kindergarten, 5th grade, 9th grade, 11th and 12th grade, Level 1 special education, and Level 2 special education. The grades that we will be accepting option enrollment students in next year are 1st through 4th, 6th through 8th, and 10th. The attached resolution provides additional details about those capacities.
Can I ask a question? How can we be at capacity and not accept level 1 special education, level 2 special education? We had to accept
If
all
a student moves into our district, we are required to accept them and provide those special education services. However, if our programs are full and a student from an outside community wants to come, we are able to say that our program is full and we can't accept them. And I could pull up those numbers if you would like to know.
Fine, I
but
forgot about
yeah.
the living in versus,
And the truth is, all of that could change based on legislation that is within the Capitol right now. But by state statute, I think we have to have this approved by April 1st. So we're going to go ahead and do it. And if they change the law, we'll come back and redo it accordingly.
Thank you, Dr. Thompson. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the 2023-2024 option enrollment resolution.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Terry and a second by Lindsay. Is there any further discussion? That was a good question, Brenda, because we forget that option means somebody living outside and moving in.
I forgot.
Yeah.
My
No,
bad.
No. That's good clarification for everybody. Thank you.
Typically get a lot of requests for option enrollment.
Yes, I wouldn't know the number off the top of my head. I would guess around 100 a school year. But we have kids that option in and we have kids that option out, and so we'd have to look it up to get you a real number.
Thank you.
Okay, please vote.
Motion carried 6-0.
Thank you, Mary. 10.3, discuss, consider, and take action to approve the release of bid documents and specs created by JEO for reconstruction of the 6th Street track. Dr. Robinson.
Thank you. This action item is make a motion to approve the release of the bid documents and specs. JEO will finalize and put out for bid. We spent some time today in finance facility with the engineers from JEO talking about the project and some of the specific things they will put in the bid documents. There'll be a 90-day period so we can reflect on the pricing if we want to step back from that for after pricing comes in on the bids, and some specifications they're going to put on the contractors. So we have somebody that has the skills that need to be done on a track. This isn't paving a road and those kinds of things. So with that being said, I recommend that if you would make this motion.
I make a motion to approve the release of bid documents and specs created by JEO for reconstruction of the 6th Street track.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion by Beth and a second by Cindy. Is there discussion? This track is used by our community, so that's why right now there's some questionable safety issues going on. There's some cracks and some pitfalls or whatever you want to call it. And so we think it's really important that we do this right because we do have that open for our community and there's lots of walkers down there. So I think just for a safety issue, it's important that we do it and do it right and do it when we can.
Does the junior high use this track for track and field too?
Yes.
I would definitely agree with what Sandy said. If anybody hasn't been down the 6th Street track lately, take a couple minutes and go take a peek at it. We've done all we can do as far as Band-Aids.
Okay, please vote.
Motion carried 6-0.
Thank you, Mary. We are to 10.4. Discuss, consider, and take action to improve CMBA to write official specs and big documents for the middle school addition and renovation. Dr. Robinson.
Thank you. This action would only approve the writing of the drawings and all the required engineering and other details required for potential bidders. It would take a future action to actually send it out for bid. We're doing this step by step because once that is done, we'll get some confirmation on proposed pricing, if it fits into our existing funds, those kinds of things. But we are going to have to pay the architect their fee when we go to this step. Estimated to be around the $350,000 range because most of their fees are on the front end when you do these projects. So I want to be very upfront and clear what this is tonight, what we're doing. Now, once we go to bid, doesn't mean you have to take the bids, but to go to bid, you have to have the documents. And when you're doing a building, there's a lot to it.
And just as a reminder for the public, this project would entail a new safe and secure entrance at the front of the middle school, as well as new offices, and then renovating space within the building for additional classroom spaces and fine arts spaces on the second floor above the new offices. I know board members have been through there recently. It is really a building that is at capacity and over capacity for our fine arts programs.
The concept drawings that were showed at study session last month is what we will go off of. I have not heard any feedback to change it at this point.
I toured the middle school, and they are definitely at capacity over there, and I think there's probably some safety concerns with people coming and going from the front.
And the documents look really great because we're going up, which is less expensive than going out. So we're gonna build, hopefully if it works, build a second floor, so.
If this went, we would use money from our money that we have now from our depreciation, our savings account and.
Building fund, depreciation, general fund, a little bit from ESSERS 3. I think I hit all the categories. No, a little bit from nutrition fund because we're hitting that cafeteria area. So I had detail, or kind of put the fund options in last month's report.
It is funding that we have very carefully saved over the last several years with this project in mind. It would not be an increase to the tax levy.
I'd just like to also say that I toured the middle school building, and if you go into where the orchestra band area is, I mean, it's literally, I don't even know how they can walk in between their stands. It is just packed. So I think it's very necessary.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the CMBA to write official specs and bid documents for the middle school addition and renovation.
And I'll second.
We have a motion by Brenda and a second by Lindsay. Is there further discussion? Like Dr. Robinson said, if the bids come in super high, then we figure it out and go no further, but this is just to get it going. Okay, please vote.
Motion carried, 6-0.
Thank you, Mary. We are to 10.5. Discuss, consider, and take action to approve the purchase of 2 SUVs. Dr. Robinson.
Thank you. This first action item is specific to the SUV purchase. Currently, the manufacturers who make some vans that we have bought in lieu of SUVs are not manufacturing them. I don't know why. So the next best option is the SUV if you need something that's 8-passenger minimum. So the use of these vehicles are used for activities that don't always need a bus. Some examples of those are golf, tennis, speech and debate, FFA, quiz bowl, bowling are some of those examples. Coaches and sponsors use these vehicles for going to out-of-town events, so more space is available on the bus for athletes and to carry equipment. These vehicles are also used by staff to attend professional development, clinics, and meetings. Our current fleet is maxed out. With the addition of homeless transportation, which I do not see changing in the near future, we are required to do that. We're out of vehicles, and 2 of the vehicles we are using currently have over 300,000 miles on them. And we just have to have a plan in place because at some point you don't put money into those anymore. With the miles that they have on them.
Or feel safe putting students on the highway?
Correct. Our currently manufacturers, I've expressed that with the vans that are 8 to 10 passengers, so the 8-passenger SUV is the next best option. We did get pricing locally from both Ford and Chevy. Ford was a little cheaper, and they both priced a 4x2 and a 4x4 model. I didn't even know that they offered the 4x2 anymore. Because they're rear-wheel drive, or their vans are all-wheel drive, that's just not a good option in the winter not to have that. So it is recommended to accept the bid from Courtesy Ford on the Ford Expedition 4x4 model.
I'll make a motion to approve the bid from Courtesy Ford for 2 Ford Expeditions at the price of $114,284.
I will second that motion.
We have a motion by Beth and a second by Brenda. Is there discussion? This is actually how we're supposed to do it, and we're not very good at doing this, but we should do a motion and then discuss. But we always discuss and then we do a motion, but this is how we should do it. So now we can discuss. I really like the fact that we're buying local. I think that that's very important that we are doing that here. I don't drive my cars past 300,000 miles, so I think at that point, I'm pretty impressed that they made it to 300,000 miles. But I do think we need to plan ahead because things are not going down in price, and when you have to do it quickly, it's sometimes higher than if you do it planned. And I do think that these are important transportation modes for our smaller group activities rather than to take a bus and use that gas, which has to be more than these smaller vehicles.
A question. So if we did not buy the SUVs, could we then take that money and apply it towards a better bus?
You certainly could make that decision, but it doesn't change our vehicle problem.
Just be less vehicles and less flexibility, especially with smaller groups, I think.
One thing nice about the expeditions is that a coach can drive them, a sponsor can drive them. You don't need a bus license to drive these, so that way it saves us on expense from having to hire a driver, whereas the coach, we're already paying the coach to go to the activity, so then he just drives too. So we save some expense that way on
I never
drivers.
thought about that. Thanks, Brenda. So when a coach drives, he doesn't get extra pay?
They do not.
Well, there you go. Never thought of that.
Finding people with bus licenses is more difficult.
We have had a very difficult time this year arranging transportation for the increase in our homeless students, and it is required by federal law that we provide that transportation. So we could find ourselves in a situation where we're in violation of federal law if we don't purchase some vehicles for this need.
How many vehicles do we have now?
I can look it up, and it's around buses and vehicles. I think it's 64 total units. It was in that transportation report. That includes all of our maintenance trucks and everything, not just activity vehicles.
Anyone check these out?
Any NPS, if they've gone through, we have an internal driving course you take if you're going to drive a school vehicle. But you go online and there's a request form and you fill it out and you get a confirmation back and stuff like that.
Would you say one more time what, I know you said it, but I went kind of quick. Who all would be utilizing these when you mentioned it?
The activities that normally do not use buses are golf, tennis, speech and debate, FFA, quiz bowl, bowling are some examples. A lot of, like football, for example, they always will grab a vehicle to go with the away games. Coaches will drive them, they'll stick some extra equipment in there and so forth. Frees up some seats on the coach bus or bus, so they don't have to take necessarily two buses. Then they're used also by staff when they attend professional development, go to clinics or meetings, those kinds of things. Usually on a daily basis, there's quite a few, most of our vehicles are out at any given time during the day. So like one of these ones with high miles on it gets to a point where if the transmission goes, do you put 8,000 into that, 6,000, whatever it is? I mean, where's the mesh point on? How much do you put in and we drive them to the ground. I mean, it's not that we don't, so. Our other two SUVs are all right at 100,000 and that's fine. They can go for another 5 to 10 years. I expect to put those kind of miles on them as well.
Okay, if there is no other discussion, we have a motion and a second, so please vote.
Carried 4-2.
Thank you, Mary. We are to 10.6, discuss, consider, and take action to approve the activity transportation strategy. Dr. Robinson.
Thank you. As discussed at our last meeting, board wanted to get bids both for Class A and Class C style buses. Those bids were submitted. That's the pricing on them. The Class C, both with the lavatory and without the lavatory. And like was shared earlier by Kay, I have also received feedback within the community about, okay, where's the fine line on this? I mean, I think everybody in this room wants to do the right thing, and we know that we want to transport our students safely for activities, comfortably, and because we do travel 2 hours most of the time, the bathroom is on the table, you know. But, you know, as stated last month, initially there was just, here's a dollar amount that's being set for this. You can get it used in some of these. Used in Class A doesn't solve our problem with how to fix them, because locally that's hard to do. That's where another option came in. We could look at some contract busing. We do have 2 coach companies in Norfolk, really for a town our size. That's pretty unique. I did reach out and they would be interested, at least one of them for sure. So that's where option 2 came from. If we need to, we can do that for a year, see how it goes. Because that does check a lot of the boxes. But you're not owning it. That doesn't check that box, and so forth. So there's options there to consider. When you don't own it, you don't control it all the time too. And when you have cancellations, I mean, it's not perfect either way we go here, but it's on the table, and I think it's time for the discussion.
As far as option 2 goes, where we hire somebody, what would happen if, you know, something gets canceled because of the weather and then the company is not available when our team needs to get somewhere?
We would have to use one of our existing buses. We wouldn't get rid of any of them that we have now. There's no guarantee that would be a coach bus, depends on if they're working, because we're continually running into that. But we do have to have a backup plan to get people there. Maybe a school bus, maybe a coach bus, I don't know. The companies will do their best to try to reschedule, but if you give them 2 or 3 days notice, that becomes somewhat problematic, because they may not be able to do that.
Do you lose out on money, you know, if you've already paid for it, or a deposit?
They have a cancellation policy. They would work with us the most they can, but at the end of the day, they have committed a driver. That driver's expecting to be paid. If they don't do the route, they got to get paid. They're a business, you know. They're not in this to lose money, so they got to cover their backs too, and I understand that. And it's just like with anything, when you go to reserve a hotel room, there's a cancellation policy and so forth. So I don't know if that sums it up.
Thank you.
I think this is unique in the fact that we have several options, so maybe we should discuss before we try to put an option out there, you know, so we're all clear on what we're doing. I think for me, the biggest thing about the coach bus is the fact that it is so technologically advanced that it's difficult to repair in Norfolk. We have a bus right now sitting in Omaha that's been there for 4 months. So for 4 months, we've been down a bus, and so if you've heard horror stories, which we've received about teams going in the yellow school buses, it's because we have a bus that we can't get fixed locally. So if we were to go with the Class C style bus, which is not a coach bus, but has a lot of amenities, it can be repaired in Norfolk at a local truck repair store, keeping the money local. I think for me, that's a huge point, not to mention the difference of $254,000, if my math is anywhere.
How old are the coaches that we currently own?
I could look it up real quick, but they're all around the 15-year range, 15 and a year older, if not older. They all have the 600,000 miles plus on them.
So we ran them too long.
Not necessarily, we bought them used to say they already had 500,000 miles on them used. So, but that's what we could afford at the time.
Which would go into Sandy's concern that you can't get them fixed locally and that you're waiting on parts. They're just too old.
That is correct. But even a new one, you have to go to somebody that works on them, even if they're 5 or 6 years old. The parts manuals and stuff, they're not just given to anybody anymore. It used to be local truck center could have a parts manual for one of these coaches, and now they're not doing that as openly as they once did. And once a coach is like over 5 or 6 years old, it becomes more problematic to get those parts.
Thank you.
The question is this a decision that has to be made at this particular time, or can we wait a month or two? Or I just don't feel confident on what I'm doing right now.
You do not have to make a decision tonight, but our issue with transportation doesn't change. So we do need to do something, whether it's tonight, but I would caution you in waiting too long.
Is it actual engine problems that we're having with our current buses? Is it actual engine problems? Because that's what would, I mean.
No, it's mostly everything that's integrated within there, electrical, other items and so forth. And a Class A coach, everything is real integrated within engine components and stuff as well. And the computer. Class C is a little different. It's the chassis, its own deal, and then they set it on the chassis. The Class A, the chassis is built within the frame and so forth. The integration is what's causing the problem, because as far as being able to fix it.
So do we have a bus mechanic? I mean, what kind of mechanic do we have then?
We do have a bus mechanic, but he is not a Class A MCI mechanic. Yeah, and that is a specialized, there is one in town, but they will not share that person who works for one of the coach companies, and they've been very clear about that.
So if we purchased a new coach bus, I know our problems are with older coach buses, could they work on new coach buses or no longer in Norfolk?
Class C, the Norfolk Truck Center can do all the main mechanic, but not the Class A.
Wouldn't you negotiate a maintenance agreement with the Class A coach?
A local person?
Don't know. They said on warranty, they would assign somebody to come here and work on it and so forth, or assign somewhere to go. But after warranty, then I did not check into that, if they have a maintenance agreement. They're out of Illinois, so I don't know what that would be. I don't know who locally would do it.
Who's the company that does Class A out of Grand Island?
I don't know who they are. I just went with the two locals on as far as the contract servicing.
Thank you.
Also, to keep in mind with the contract servicing, it was sent to us ahead of time that if we would contract a trip to Lincoln with another company, it'd cost approximately $1,600 to take that trip, whereas if we had our own bus and our own people doing it, it would be $1,200 a trip. So at that times, he just said 98 trips maybe to Lincoln in a year is what we normally take. That difference equates to an extra $43,000 we would spend a year to the contract out our services. So keep that in mind that it's.
That's a great point. The problem is that it's not serving all the students' needs with not having a bathroom on it.
So I feel like in the survey that went out to all the coaches, the primary things that they were concerned about was seating capacity for people and storage capacity for equipment. And I feel like the bathroom issue was kind of way down in the list.
I think it came in at third.
Meant by
Class C bus smaller than your Class A? Is it smaller as far as capacity?
Not with seating capacity. The actual size of the unit is smaller. Yeah.
And the other issue with the bathroom is that it can't be used during the winter time. So that's a big chunk of time, to pay for a bathroom that nobody can use.
I agree with you. That's not on the table, I don't think, but that would be only in the winter months which again wouldn't serve the needs of all the students, so that's probably why it's not on here.
I mean to say that for me, and reading and talking to the people, because we've all talked to different people, we're all at different places in our life. I have had a lot of people that think that to spend $258,900 to get a bathroom is high. I have kids, and we can make trips without going to the bathroom. I do know that there are emergencies, but I don't believe there are a lot of emergencies, because can anybody speak to the yellow buses that we've been driving for the last how many months? Because we had a coach down, and I don't know that we had any huge emergency challenges without just stopping to go to a bathroom.
I have not been told of any. We have had to use non-lavatory buses throughout the year on different occasions. Now, I think we could easily build into procedures some, you do have to stop so many miles just regardless, and make sure, there's availability to get out and walk and, kind of plan, because Lincoln and Omaha is where we're going the most, and where are those planned stops at, regardless of time of day.
Means we're getting teachers and students out of class sooner to prepare for those stops, correct?
Could be, yeah, about 30 minutes at least.
Okay. Anybody else?
I'm going to make a motion to approve option number 1 for the activity transportation in 2023, 2024.
I second that motion.
Wait. Brenda and Beth. Okay, so we have an option to accept the bid from Masters Transportation for the Class C style coach bus that does not include a lavatory for $344,900. Is there discussion? Okay, please vote.
The motion has 2 yeses, 2 noes, and 1 abstaining.
That's only 5. Need 6.
Yeses.
You know what?
Yeah, that is not
We
a
can
majority, so, nope, you have to have a majority. So
Okay,
it is
so-
not a majority, so the motion does not pass.
Oh, we can bring it up right now.
So at this point, we would entertain another motion that could be to approve the other option or to table the discussion until a future meeting, whichever the board members feel is the appropriate motion to make.
Or the motion would be to engage the renting of the other buses and not purchase anything. You have you can make
There are
up,
a lot of options.
you can make up any motion you want right now. So if you said no, you want to make another motion, you can make another motion.
Well, I feel like Cindy feels like she needs more time. Do we need to motion to postpone?
Yeah, we sure can. Make that motion then.
I'd make a motion to postpone to a later date if additional information is needed from the administration prior to making the decision.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Terry and a second by Cindy to postpone. Is there any further discussion?
I do want to clarify that those bid prices are only good for so many days, so they may have to be rebid. It depends on how long this delay is.
Do we know when that bid limit is?
I'll look, but it's usually a 30-day window from submission, so it probably wouldn't be good by the next board meeting.
We are, but we have 2 people absent on that meeting.
I don't think it.
No.
More information, Cindy, would you like, or what would help you make a decision?
So you would like information about used Class A and Class C buses? Is that what you're asking for? Okay.
I didn't get to see the bus when you had it for view because I was teaching that day, and I think maybe that would help me to just be able to physically see it as well.
Okay, I don't have ability to get one of those buses here. I mean, you could potentially go to Columbus Lakeview and view theirs.
That would make
Or
a
we
big
could
difference for me to see it.
find Maybe another place nearby. Columbus is probably the closest that has one. We could set up an appointment for you to go down there if that
I
works.
think that would really help me.
I just don't think the Class C is accommodating to all children, grade levels. You've got, example, you got your field trips with these grade schools. And I don't know if you ever seen a 2 or 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grader hold their bathroom for 2 hours, but it's not very common.
I
Well,
don't
might be
remember
wrong
I
on
had
2nd
that
graders, but I
list.
know
I
3rd
don't-
and 4th graders, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
that's just, we have to think of everybody, and I don't look at it as $258,000 for a bathroom. You're looking at a quality, also, when I personally went and saw the Class C, it was a tuna can compared to more solid of a Class A. Talking to a few of the bus drivers in Columbus, they don't like them. They're always getting them fixed. I can give you the names if you'd like them. So when I get that from people with experience, family that goes to school down there, their kids hate those Class C buses. Having kids from music to sports to speech to all that, you got dancers, you got cheerleaders that use those bathrooms, you got the kid that gets motion sickness using those bathrooms. Comfort, it's smaller, it seats the same amount, but you try to put a 260, 300-pound football player in that smaller, narrower seat, it's not gonna work. This way, Class C bus, your butt's this big. Class A, your butt's this big. That works out. We know I come from a big family. We want that wider. So I think we need to look at all the kids and you got one act, we're gonna get our makeup on in the bathroom. We're getting ready. Pink Panthers, we're getting ready. Plus, not only that, but I'm gonna say it, maybe I'm wrong, we're Class A school. That's what we are. And I think by going down and lowering everything, we're not treating our kids like they're Class A. We're not pulling up. And when we don't know anything about with these buses, going down, taking them in the yellow buses, I know for a fact, we got yellow buses that have duct tape holding up the windows. Our basketball boys were freezing on the way to North Platte for 4 hours.
That's about
And
the
I looked into it.
transportation that,
Yeah, but I'm just saying, because it said that there's been no problems with our buses so far going down. But what I'm saying is, our kids deserve better. And they deserve a lot better. The town deserves better. So, I won't budge.
Well, and that's why I would like to get another bus on the fleet, so we are not taking those yellow buses, especially to North Platte. That's a long trip. So yeah, that is not acceptable. But when you have buses down, we had no choice. We had to get the kids there safely. So I think that that's part of it.
Not too safe when windows aren't up. That's not very safe.
Respectfully, I'd like to disagree with a couple of things you said, Lindsay. I went to see the Columbus Lakeview bus when it was parked here, and that driver loved the bus. I mean, it was easy to drive, he thought. He had great things to say about the gas mileage that it got. He just, couldn't recommend it more. And I was there as the students on that bus were coming out and getting back on the bus, and they all said they really liked riding on that bus. It was comfortable. They had the little plug-ins for their devices that they could charge and use, and they were all very happy riding in that bus. None of them had a bad thing to say. And as far as the bathroom goes, I don't know, but it's hard to imagine a group of girls crowded in that tiny little bathroom, which from my experience usually smells, putting their makeup on when they could do it either before they get on the bus or when they get to wherever they're performing. I feel like that's usually when kids get ready anyways. So that's just my 2 cents on some of those things.
Lindsay, one thing I hadn't thought about is the size of people, that really your seating capacity does go down because the chairs aren't large enough.
I actually sat in it myself, and I was comfortable. And there's not many boys on that team that are bigger than me.
I added to the list, if you decide to postpone the vote, I added that we will check into the actual size of the seats on both the Class A and the Class C.
Here's my concern about waiting, and it's just with respect to the bid. Companies know we want to buy a bus now. They know it's important to us, and there's no guarantee that they're not going to just raise their prices because they have us,
Is the storage the same on both? I'm sorry, I'm acting ignorant, but I've been teaching for all this time and haven't had much time to study it. But is the storage space underneath the same on C and the A?
It's very similar. It's not exactly the same, but I have all the specs here if you want to look at them afterwards.
It's similar if you don't have the
Lavatory.
restroom on the Class C. If you put the restroom on the Class C, then it takes away a lot of storage. But I don't think that anybody here is recommending that we get the Class C with the restroom.
Terry and Lindsay, you guys were more interested in a bathroom. Would you be interested in the Class C with a bathroom or no? No, okay. Okay, so what we have is we have a motion and a second to table this. So if you vote yes, we're tabling it. If you vote no, we're coming right back here and talking it through again. But I will be honest, I think we have some board members who are pretty much decided where they want to be, and I don't know that we'll get anywhere, and so I'm just giving you options, but you vote how you want. So please vote.
Motion is carried 4-2. Postpone.
Okay, so we are going to do some research. We're going to get some more information. Hopefully Cindy can go see a bus. And then, we all have constituents that we're talking to, and just depending who you're talking to, everybody has different opinions, which is great because we're here to represent different opinions, and that's what we're doing. So the process is working as it should. So
may I clarify the information that is requested?
Please do.
Okay, so I have that you would like us to find out prices on both used Class A and Class C buses. That Cindy would like to view the Class C bus by going to Columbus Lakeview, assuming we can get an appointment. That we want the actual seat size of both the Class A and the Class C. That's all I have listed.
It's my understanding that we can still consider the Class A choice because that wasn't up there.
It is an option. You can make your own motion. That was not one recommended by Dr. Robinson due to the price, but the board does have that option.
So before we walk away, if you want to do that, you can.
No, we.
Oh, we already passed it. No, never mind. Sorry.
Can
Well,
I
yeah,
ask
but
a
you can do
question
another
real quick?
motion. You can do another motion.
But then we're not postponing.
Oh, then we're not postponing. My bad. Nope.
Where would the extra money come from for the Class A? We've only budgeted, $345,000. Where would the extra money come from?
We would have to go back through what we have budgeted for future purchases. It's possible that bids for the middle school may come in less than we anticipated, or that we could reduce the scope of that project. We have some safety items that are budgeted in the next couple of years for new door locks, that type of thing. We could choose not to do those. We could reduce curriculum or technology expenses. I mean, we would just have to go through the budget and cut something else out.
My question is, I guess, also is, if we knew we were in need of a bus, then, and why didn't we look sooner, like approximately, so we could budget out for a bus? And that's one. Number two is, I think it's a little coincidental that the bus that we want's $345 and we only budgeted $345. That's just interesting to me.
We have never purchased a bus that costs more than about $350,000. In the past, we did the used Class A coaches, but we have found that to be very problematic in the last couple of years, as those of you that are parents have experienced. And so we don't feel like that is the best option, but we are now going to explore that further. So that would potentially bring a Class A option in that would be within the budget.
Okay, but if we knew we were gonna have to get one in the last couple of years, why didn't we, like, say, hey, this is approximately how much it was, we have to start budgeting out for this in the next couple of years?
We budgeted out $350,000 approximately.
That's just exactly, okay. Okay.
Previous boards would not go that high on a budget, depreciating over several years for a bus.
I'm not a previous board.
Well, that was to answer why it
You
was.
asked a question about why we did something in the past, so Dr. Robinson answered that.
Okay, buses are done for tonight, guys. 10.7, discuss, consider, and take action to approve the addition of a poetry club at the senior high on a pilot basis. Dr. Thompson.
Thank you. The Activities Committee is recommending that Poetry Club is added to the senior high as a pilot club next year. Poetry Club provides an opportunity for students to express their creative voice in writing and to learn the craft of creative writing. In addition, students also learn and study performance poetry. The estimated cost for adding this club is estimated, well, it is $1,945. There is a $400 entry fee for our school to compete with other schools. This money is paid to the Nebraska Writers Collective, who plans the events and coordinates the venues and provides each team with a coach, an outside coach from that Nebraska Writers Collective, who works for and is paid by NWC. And personnel costs for one coach placed on extra duty schedule number 10 is $1,545. Hence the total of $1,945. And I just want to point out, I do have Mr. Irwin here if you have questions that maybe I can't answer, because we have several activities items on the agenda.
I make a motion to approve the addition of a poetry club at the senior high on a pilot basis.
I second.
You, Lindsay? Thank you. We have a motion by Beth and a second by Lindsay. Is there discussion? There is. Mr. Irwin, how did this come about?
Mr. Grove's been doing Poetry Club for a few years now, and he's been putting in a lot of time, and he didn't actually know that he could get paid for doing it. He's been volunteering it for the last few years, so we decided that we would look into it and see if we could get him compensated for all of his work. So that's how that came about, but he has been doing it for a few years now.
Do you know how many kids are involved?
I think he said there's roughly about 10 to 12 right now. It kind of comes and goes because they also work during the speech and stuff. But I don't think there's any question that as this goes, it'll continue to grow. But right now, about 10 to 12 that kind of compete and meet. And he does it, meets a few times during the first quarter, second, third, fourth. It gets to be a little bit more as the year goes on, and then they go to the competition. So.
That's my question. It's a full year. It's not just a season.
Correct. This is a full year.
And the competition is when and where?
Usually it's in the spring, I believe, and I don't know if they always have it in the same place. I think down in Lincoln, but I'm not 100% sure. But they go down there, and usually takes a van load of kids down there with him.
I think you said there were 4 competitions that they participated within the course of the year, and then the final
And then the
one
big one is at
in
the end,
Lincoln.
yeah.
Thank you.
I don't want to pick on poetry, but as a speech coach, that is a division of speech. And to me, I think that if they really, they need to, and obviously it sounds like they are in the poetry section of speech, but I think at some point we need to start drawing lines. And I personally would not be for it, so.
I think this is also about writing poetry, not just, I think the speech aspect is just the performance, but this would also be about learning how to write poetry.
And this came out of the activities committee? Yeah. Saying yes? Yeah, okay, thank you.
Because it just gave another avenue for kids to be a part of a group, be a part of the school, and make them feel like they're part of Norfolk Public Schools. So just another avenue.
That learning and expressing, and then it was really neat having a coach from Lincoln, come in and sit down with them, and she's teaching them also. So that was, a whole writing aspect on that too. It was really, I like that.
Thank you. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion carried 5-1.
Thank you, Mary. We are at 10.8. Discuss, consider, and take action to approve the addition of 1 senior high assistant girls wrestling coach. Dr. Thompson.
Thank you. Due to the number of, Due to the number of girls that are going out for wrestling, we need to add an additional assistant girls wrestling coach. This would give us 1 head and 2 assistant girls wrestling coaches. This is necessary because the increase in girls participating in the sport. The increase would allow for more coaching to take place and help with supervision and safety. It would also be necessary at meets if there are multiple girls wrestling at the same time. As the numbers increase, this becomes more of a concern. Something that I learned is that at a meet, especially like state, if there are more than 1 girl wrestling, a coach has to be with the girl or boy, whichever the case, in order to wrestle. If we don't have enough coaches, then that person does not get to wrestle in the competition. And you don't have any time. It's like you're starting in 1 minute, and the coach and the participant have to be on the match at that time.
Make a motion to approve the addition of 1 senior high assistant girls wrestling coach.
I second that motion.
We have a motion by Terry and a second by Beth. Is there any discussion? Mr. Irwin, grab that microphone.
Just stay up here.
How many girls wrestling coaches do we have right now?
Well, this year we just had 1 head wrestling coach, and he did both boys and girls. We've approved a head and an assistant girls, so we're looking at 1 more. So technically we would have 1 head and 2 assistant girls.
We might have more girls out for wrestling than boys.
That is true. Down at the junior high, I believe they did have more girls out for wrestling than boys. So we are looking at that number. As Dr. Thompson mentioned, for safety reasons, supervision, when you do wrestle at tournaments, you have to have a coach on the mat as the athlete wrestles, or they don't get to wrestle. And I know at state, we almost had 4 boys wrestling at the same time. One finished just before the other 3 started. So with our girls' numbers right now, it is possible that as they increase, we could end up with, you know, that many at some point. We'd have to look at that as the numbers continue to increase, because they're not quite to where the boys are, but I would anticipate they could get there.
Does it matter if the coach is male or female?
No, it does not. The only difference is our girls don't always go to the same tournaments that the boys do. We kind of started that out the first year as the girls were just growing and stuff, but now they're starting to have their own separate tournaments because there's getting to be so many girls teams that we still have some that do it the same day, but some might be the same weekend, but they do one on one day and one on the other. So that's not probably as much going to happen as it did the first year, so they will be separate a little bit more.
Thank you. Okay, we have a motion by Terry and a second by Beth. Is there anything else? No, please vote.
Excuse me, motion carried 6-0.
Thank you, Mary. We are to 10.9. Discuss, consider, and approve the addition of 1 senior high assistant boys soccer coach. Dr. Thompson.
Thank you. Due to the number of boys that are going out for soccer and the various positions, it is necessary that we add 1 more coach. The boys team will have anywhere from 30 to 45 boys on the soccer team. Currently, there are 2 coaches. If 1 coach is to train the goalies during practice, it leaves the other coach with around 40 athletes. This is not very productive and could lead to possible safety concerns. John Irwin asked the other Class A ADs how many paid assistant coaches they had, and only 1, Columbus, had 2. The remaining were anywhere from 3 to 5. The average was 3.2. The cost for adding the position would be $4,635.
I'll make a motion to approve the addition of 1 senior high assistant boys soccer coach.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion by Terry and a second by Beth. Is there any discussion?
Do we have the finances to continue to add all these coaches and assistant coaches?
It'll have to be built in next year's budget. So that's how I can answer that. It's not in the current budget right now. It'll be an add, yeah.
Mr. Irwin, do you feel you have teachers available that would like this position?
Yes, we do, actually. We've got a couple that have been volunteering a little bit and doing it for free, that haven't been staff members but outside in the community. But I know we have a couple of people that just got hired, actually, that said that they would coach soccer next year in a paid position. And again, I think the thing that's important again is I know the curriculum part and academics is so important, but so is our activities. And I just think to be able to give our kids something to do outside of the school day to keep them busy and occupied and healthy is such a good thing. And I know with soccer, for instance, it's similar to some other sports. I think some people think in soccer you just go out and kick a ball and run around, but there are different positions in soccer just like there are football. And so one coach can't very well coach the offensive line, the running backs, the receivers, and everything else all at once. And I think we've been doing a disservice to some of our kids because we actually have 4 different positions on a soccer field, and our goalies kind of usually take the back seat to that, which unfortunately is probably one of the most important positions on a soccer field. And the reason for that is you've got 40 kids out there, so if you take one person to go work with your goalkeepers, which you might have maybe 3 out of the 40, then your other coach is sitting there working with 37 of the other kids, which just is not a good thing for safety issues as well as getting much accomplished at practice as well. And as Dr. Thompson mentioned, Columbus only has 2 paid coaches, but most of them have anywhere from 3 to 5. I think Creighton Prep, Omaha Marion, which are just boys or girls, each have 5 paid coaches. And so I think that for us to kind of get to where those schools are at, I think this is something that's been needed for a while.
Thank you. And we look at more community members getting involved in these kinds of things. Is that yes, right? That's a good thing. Did you say?
Yes, we do look at that. Obviously, Mr. Omerin has reached out to some and found some people that want to volunteer. It's always best if we have our own coaches as far as expertise and training and those types of things. I can't guarantee what volunteers will have along those lines.
Is there a liability issue with using someone from the community rather than one of our own employees?
If they're working with the students independently, they do have to have a coaching certificate. Not a teaching certificate, but they have to go through and get a coaching certificate. Coaches 8 can work side by side with a coach, but they can't work independently with athletes.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion carried, 6-0.
Thank you, Mary. Wow, you Activities Committee, you guys were busy. 10.10, discuss, consider, and approve the addition of 1 senior high assistant girls soccer coach. Dr. Thompson.
Thank you. This will sound fairly familiar to the item we just passed. Due to the number of girls that are going out for soccer and the various positions, it is necessary that we add another coach. The girls team will have anywhere from 30 to 40 girls on the soccer team. Currently, there are 2 coaches. If one coach is to train the goalies during practice, it leaves the other coach with around 35 athletes. This is not very productive and could lead to possible safety concerns. Mr. Irwin asked the other Class A ADs how many paid assistant coaches they had, and only one, Columbus, had 2. The remaining were anywhere from 3 to 5. The average, again, was 3.2, and the cost for adding the position would be $4,635.
I make a motion to approve the addition of 1 senior high assistant girls soccer coach.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Beth and a second by Lindsay. Is there discussion?
I feel in order to be prudent, I need to caution on Title IX that we need to make sure that we have equity between our girls and our boys programs.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Any other discussion? Please vote.
Motion carried, 6-0.
Thank you, Mary. We are to 10.11. Discuss, consider, and approve the addition of 1 junior high head girls wrestling coach and 2 junior high assistant girls wrestling coaches. Dr. Thompson.
Thank you. Norfolk Junior High Wrestling has been steadily growing over the past 10 years in becoming one of the largest junior high programs in the area. 10 years ago, we had 39 boys try out, and this year we had 59. For girls, 10 years ago, we had 2 girls try out, and this year we had 52. Current numbers are 45 boys and 45 girls. Our current coaching situation is 1 head boys coach, 2 paid assistants, and 1 volunteer coach. After this year, we will lose our volunteer coach. We have no girls coaches at this point. Our current coach to athlete ratio is 1 to 23. With the volunteer coach, with the volunteer coach. Without the volunteer coach, it is 1 to 30. The addition of these coaches would allow us to lower our coach to athlete ratio so that we can provide all boys and girls participating in the sport of wrestling an opportunity to be coached in practice and at tournaments. We currently do not have enough coaches to coach athletes in practice and in tournaments where 3 to 4 athletes may be competing at the same time. To provide male and female coaches to be able to help supervise and coach the boys and girls locker rooms, injuries, practice supervision, travel supervision, tournament supervision, and demonstrate proper technique and form in practice. And finally, to provide the boys and girls wrestling teams with an appropriate number of coach to student athletes in comparison to our other Norfolk Junior High boys and girls sports. The cost for adding these coaches positions would be $8,884. I don't know what that number says there, but it's $8,884. The head coach would cost $3,476, and the two assistants combined would cost $5,408.
Make a motion to approve the addition of one junior high head girls wrestling coach and two junior high assistant girls wrestling coaches.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Terry and a second by Lindsay. Is there discussion?
Similar to with soccer, do we have people who are willing to take these positions?
We did this, the boys have one head coach and two assistants. Is that what you're saying right now?
Yes, so they would be equitable.
Okay, please vote.
Motion carried, 6-0.
Thank you, Mary. 10.14, discuss, consider, and, oh no, it's 10.12. 10.12. I'm 10.12. Discuss, consider, improve the termination of the boys tennis co-op agreement with Norfolk Catholic Schools. Dr. Thompson.
Thank you. Norfolk Catholic has requested that we terminate our co-op for boys tennis. They have not had a participant in approximately 10 years and do not wish to continue paying this fee to the NSAA. We could reinstate this co-op in the future if that situation were to change.
I'll make a motion to approve the termination of the boys tennis co-op agreement with the Norfolk Catholic Schools.
Second that motion.
We have a motion by Lindsay and a second by Cindy. Is there any discussion?
Did Norfolk Catholic pay us directly anything for this co-op?
No, we do not get any payment for them to co-op. It just is a fee that goes to the NSAA.
Do you know what that fee is that they paid the NSAA? $50?
Please vote.
Just thought it'd be more than that. That's what.
Sarah.
Mary, 10.13, discuss, consider, and take action to approve the purchase of the Amplify Math program for junior high and senior high. Beth Nelson.
Thank you, Madam President. The secondary math department and the teaching and learning team have put significant time into reviewing math programs since the summer of 2021. After reviewing 5 programs and piloting 2, the teachers have chosen Amplify Math as the program to best meet the needs of students. The programs must rank as meeting expectations in ed reports before even being considered for review. A comprehensive matrix was completed by our teachers and teaching and learning team. The funds for this purchase will come from ESSER 3 funds. This purchase includes both online access and textbook materials for students and teachers for 8 years, as well as formal onboarding and follow-up training. The average cost per pupil is $24.83 a year. I am confident in the research the pilot process has been done and am recommending the purchase of this program.
What grades did the piloting?
All of them did. 7th, 8th, Algebra 1, Algebra 2, Geometry.
I'm going to ask a question that I've been asked. I'm going to let you answer because I don't have an answer. So, as we all know, people are saying, oh, our math scores are low, da-da-da-da. Okay, was this being piloted for those math scores? you see what I'm saying? I can get what people are asking,
Right.
but I'm like,
It's piloted because we needed new materials first and foremost. But that is a part of the consideration. Like if we feel like it meets the needs to help teach our students at the levels that we need them taught
but
at.
by
So-
by piloting it, did
Am I
it
not
cause the score to go down?
Oh, no.
Does that,
No.
that, there you go.
I'm
Our
sorry.
scores were declining prior to this pilot. Piloting this program is part of hopefully improving the instruction and the curriculum and those student achievement scores.
Okay,
I'm
thank you.
sorry, I didn't
No,
understand the question
Yeah, well,
then.
that's me, so, thank you.
Which in the curriculum meeting, you had a table, a chart that showed students who had the piloted program compared to scores for students who were in the classes that weren't piloting the program. And I believe the piloted program students were testing better. Is that correct? Am I remembering that right?
You are remembering that correct, but that was reflective of the K through 6 pilot.
My bad, sorry.
Yep, that's okay, that's okay.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of Amplify Math for 7th, 8th Algebra 1 and Algebra 2 for the amount of $275,145.56.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion by Beth and a second by Terry. Is there discussion?
I just wanted to clarify, we talked about this in curriculum committee. We're not recommending the purchase of geometry right now at the recommendation of the teaching and learning team, so that teachers were not starting a brand new program in 2 preps at the same time. So they will start with Algebra 1 this year, and then the next year they would start with geometry, after they have kind of gotten familiar with the program overall.
I also wanted to add in the curriculum meetings that the teachers who did the presentation with the piloting did a fantastic job of convincing the committee that this was a good program, along with Beth's information. The other thing that I was impressed with, that it was a toggle switch that went from English to Spanish for learning it. So the teachers were really excited about it. The other thing that I want the public to know, that if we ever take a look at target-based grading, that this curriculum we don't have to change it if we do something different in that department. So thank you, Beth.
And then I just, in case you missed it, when you hear that number, that is a scary number, $275,145.56, but it equates to only $24.83 a student per year. It is a long program, so unfortunately we have to pay it up front, but then it's got an 8-year shelf life, so that's better. That's better. Please vote.
Motion carried 6-0.
Thank you, Mary. We just are rolling right along.
Thank you.
10.14, discuss, consider, and take action to approve the purchase of the culinary arts program for the senior high. Mrs. Nelson.
The Secondary Family and Consumer Science Department has researched textbook options to supplement the Culinary Arts 2 course. This course serves as the capstone course in the Culinary Arts Career Academy program of study. The purchase includes a 6-year subscription of both online access and textbook materials for students and teachers. The funds for this purchase will come from the curriculum budget. I recommend purchasing this program.
I make a motion to approve the purchase of the Culinary Arts textbooks for the Culinary Arts 2 class for $4,217.17.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion by Lindsay and a second by Beth. Is there discussion?
How many people are in the Culinary Arts Career Academy?
Well, that's fluctuates because it's an elective course. So, I mean, it could be, I think that they are conscientious about the number of students in that course because there are only formally, I believe, 3 kitchens in the class, but they can also use for professional purposes the in-house kitchen of the, help me out, the cafeteria. So, I just can't tell you how, I mean, It could range, I would say anywhere from 20 to 30, but never, oh gosh, 30 would be a lot.
That we be using this curriculum?
This is for 6 years.
I personally, having personal experience with my oldest, he was in the culinary program and enjoyed it a lot. So, and he can cook good. Wow, he can cook good. So this summer.
Very nice. Good to hear. Please vote.
Motion carried, 6-0.
Thank you, Mary. 10.15, discuss, consider, and take action to approve the purchase of the web design program for the senior high. Mrs. Nelson.
Correct. The secondary business department has researched textbook options for the web design course. This course is the capstone course of the Digital Design Career Academy program of study. The purchase includes a 6-year subscription of both online access and textbook materials for students and teachers. The funds for this purchase will come from the curriculum budget. I recommend the purchase of the program.
Make a motion to approve the purchase of the web design textbooks for the web design class in the amount of $4,630.50.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion by Terry and a second by Cindy. Is there discussion?
Current teacher be able to teach this too?
That is correct.
Please vote.
Motion carried, 6-0.
Thank you, Mary. 10.16, discuss, consider, and approve the second and final reading of Board Policies 1400 to 1470 related to community relations. Dr. Thompson.
Thank you. We discussed these policies last month, and no changes have been made to them since the approval of their first reading.
I'll make a motion to approve the second and final readings of Board Policies 1400 through 1470 related to community relations.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion by Brenda and a second by Beth. Is there discussion? Please vote.
Motion carried, 6-0.
Thank you, Mary. 10.17, discuss, consider, and take action to approve the second and final reading of Board Policy 5101 related to student discipline. Dr. Thompson.
Thank you. Again, we discussed this policy last month, including the addition of the firearms portion, and we have not made any changes to the policy since then.
I'll make a motion to approve the second and final reading of Board Policy 5101 related to student discipline.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion by Brenda, a second by Terry. Is there any discussion? Please vote.
Motion carried, 6-0.
Thank you, Mary. You guys are rock stars. We are to future meetings. The second monthly meeting of the Board of Education has been tentatively scheduled for noon on Thursday, March 23rd. Both Terry and I are going to be absent, so we need to make sure the other 4 of you can come, or we will not have a quorum. Is everybody able to come on Thursday, March 23rd at noon?
We said we would meet at noon or right after the board meeting, so we'll just hold it afterwards. And we do already have one resignation that we received today, but it was past the deadline to put it on the agenda, so we really do need to meet.
It will be like a 10-minute meeting if she can talk as fast as I can. The next regular meeting of the Board of Education will be held on April 17th. This meeting date is a week later than usual. The study session will begin at 5:30 p.m. The regular business meeting will be at 6:30 p.m. All components of these meetings will be held at the Norfolk Public Schools Central Administration offices and will be open to the public unless an executive session is needed in order to protect the interest of the district or the reputation of an individual. With that, we need to go into executive session to discuss litigation as needed to protect the interest of the district. first motion and my whole paper's full.
I'll make a
filled the
motion
paper.
to convene executive session to discuss litigation as needed to protect the interest of the district.
A second.
Brenda and Lindsay are doing it for us. Please vote.
Motion carried 6-0.
I do not anticipate that we will take any action following the executive session.
Oh, yeah.